Hello everyone, it's Miss Darling in the studio. Thank you for being here. Welcome, and I'm very pleased that you're here. So I thought today I'd like to explore making romantic masterboards. So here is one that I've already made, and you can see it's very colorful. Our dominant color is pink, and that always makes me think of romance. Maybe it doesn't do that for you, but let's just go with my feeling, okay? So I have included in here some florals and some greenery, and then, you know, a couple of vintage ladies. Well, there's 3 of them. A little vintage cottage, and just tried to make it as feminine and soft as I could, while being able to use up some of my ephemera, which I have coming out of every which place in the room, and it's just exhausting, really. So I wanted to point out a design feature that is built into this so you can learn a little bit about design technique. And it's the concept of moving the viewer's eye around the entire surface. So you'll notice over here we have some greenery that's coming up. It brings the eye up, and then you notice what's up here, and as you cross over, it leads you all the way here, and then down again, and all the way down to here, and this is leading you this way, or you could go up this way and come back down around here and come over and go back on up. So I hope you can see the concept of, you know, moving the eye all around in specific directions, while at the same time filling the whole surface with imagery that fits into the theme. And so we're going to try and make another one. It might wind up looking very much like this and be a real straightforward companion. More than likely, though, it will look quite different. It could still companion up with it because of the color palette, but you know, it's probably going to turn out looking quite different, and that's okay. I just take the imagery that I have and start placing different pieces down, and then that leads me to other pieces, and so on and so forth until I'm happy. So I've already gone, unlike my other video where I think it was the vintage, I don't remember, I mean the African tribal masterboard, where I showed you how I was digging around in all of my supplies, pulling out imagery that I thought could be considered. This time I'm going to save us all that time and effort, and I went ahead and already picked out things that I'm going to consider using. Now, you want to pick out imagery that you feel work together the way you want. The thing that's going to mostly tie and unify your masterboard is going to be the color palette. But beyond the colors, you know, just the feel and that you get from each individual item that goes into the board and how it's laid out and so forth. We've already chosen our pieces, but if they don't feel good in their little piles, don't use them, because if it doesn't feel good as it is right now, it's not going to feel any better once you get some of them all glued down. So be mindful of that and choose wisely, and then stick to the imagery that you've pulled out, because you've already auditioned it for color and feeling, hopefully. And so then that makes the rest of it easy, and you'll find that it will go together rather quickly and easily for you if you've done all that ahead of time. So here I have a little bundle of greenery, and we're going to push those off to this corner. And I think I better come out a bit so you can see the whole board. So here we have a pile that has gone a little more in the peachy direction, and so that's going to go right up here. This pile is more neutral, and it's kind of different from the other because the others are, the major images in these other piles are more accessories and, you know, something specific that one might use in their home or, you know, or whatever. These pieces in this pile are more background, if that makes sense. So we've got kind of background over here and then foreground over here. And then this pile is more of the pinkish items that I've pulled out. So you'll notice that I have a whole bunch of really small pieces, and I don't ever start with the small ones. I use them later on for filler. And then here I have more background, and these are clearly more, very definitely pink, as opposed to this pile over here being more neutral. So let me try to kind of get this in the center of my field here. And I have no idea what's going to make the cut and what isn't. So we'll just jump in and see what happens. Okay, so I said, you know, I moved off to this side some of my smaller pieces. This little pile here has more medium-sized pieces, and then we have a couple of real large pieces, which, you know, just off the top, one would look at these as, you know, like focal points. I don't know, given that they do take up a lot of space, I might just use one and probably not both because they are so big, and I want to get more of this feeling here, which leaves a lot of the background of my cardstock showing through, and it's very light and airy, and so I don't want to just, you know, clog it all up with really large pieces and not have any background showing through. So I think maybe, though, I might keep this as a focal point of sorts on this side, which if I was making this into 2 pages for a journal, my right side, for instance, if like on a cover, think of it as a cover where you're going to fold it in half, and this side is going to be your front and this is going to be the back. So it's easy to forget that and just look at it as a single sheet and think your focal point maybe is going to be over here, when you probably would rather have it over here for purposes of pages in a journal. Now, if you're going to cut it up into small ephemera, it doesn't matter where it goes. I'm hoping I will wind up with a nice 2-pager here, and I want it to be light and airy and be able to use this as the front page and this is the back page. So I'm going to put that there for now, and then I always try to go rather quickly to my corners and decide what I'm going to use there. So I'm going to first kind of look through this and see if maybe there's anything in here of a neutral that could make a good corner piece. And when you decide where something's going to go, if it's directional like this, you need to think about, do you want to draw the eye into the piece, or do you want to create some tension and draw the eye out? And so if you want to draw it in, then you want the directional piece like this to point into the masterboard as opposed to taking the eye out. So see, if I put it over here, see where it's pulling the eye? It's pulling it out here, and I don't want that. Sometimes I like that, and depending on the style of what I'm creating, but generally speaking, I will put it where it's pointed inward rather than outward. Now, it could also go up here, but because of the darkness of it, I'd rather have it on the bottom, which then is providing visual weight for the bottom of the page rather than it being top heavy. So I'll kind of maybe use that there, and then for some balance, maybe put this one over here. Similar colors, similar strength. One's bigger than the other, but that doesn't matter. They're pretty close. And I have this. I don't know about that. This is very cool. And this is warm, and this is warm. This is kind of in between. I'll leave that there for now, but it may lose its place. We'll see how this feels up here. Okay, so our corners are very neutral. They don't have to be, but I'm just, pointing that out to you. And some of these backgrounds are just too big. I think maybe I might use a little bit of this because it's pinkish, and I want pink to be my dominant color again. And so I think I'm gonna tear this down. I'm not going to go with a square, I'm going to go with a rectangle shape. And I'm going to cut off the border because I'm going to glue this down right to the edge of my cardstock so that I always have an image filling my corners. So I think maybe I like that. I've got some more of this. Maybe this is just too strong. I think this may be too strong too. Just not really going in the direction I want to go now that I think about it more. So we've got some of this we can use. Yeah, I think that's working better. Okay, so now I want to have some more pink imagery in here, but I also want to pull in some of the peach as well. Some of these are stickers, and ooh, that's a lovely piece. Maybe you will go on the back, and maybe you'll go on the front. That's nice. Lovely. I'm not real crazy about this shape here, so I do not mind at all putting something over it. Okay. Normally I try to stay away from crossing my fold mark. I have a line that goes down here. You probably can't see it, which is embossed in there. And normally I don't cross over that line when I'm laying down imagery, but in this particular case, because I want to have a flow over the whole masterboard, and I might very well wind up getting cut up in the end, so it won't matter anyway. So these are all, you know, lovely imagery. Don't want to do too much of the same thing because that gets boring. You do want to do some repetition though, because repetition brings unity to your creation. Just don't overdo it. This looks nice. Okay. Let's look up here for some softer, more peachy type things. Nice vase here. I'm thinking too as I go along how much of my cardstock, my super background, do I want to let show through and where, and to make sure I'm not putting too much in here that I'm going to cover over the ability to have the airiness I'm looking for. Now this is a sticker. We don't want to consider that. That's not part of it. See, already we have some direction built into here, you know, moving up and across and down and across. Okay, so I won't need to do as much directional pieces with the greenery I have here as I did on the other one, perhaps, but we'll see. So these are my leftovers from the group that I had, and they pretty much are smaller than the ones I used in the first version, so I may need to use more of them, but we'll see. I'm going to throw that in like so. We're just emphasizing the directions that we already see have opened up to us. Excuse me. I don't know why I tend to lose my voice every time I make a video, but I seem to do that. I don't want to get it too crazy going on here. I think I won't overlap that piece because I really want the line of this vase to show up. It gets lost if I overlap it, so I'm going to free it up a bit. And I think we're pretty much done with what we're going to be doing. Oh wait, I may need it and I might not. So yeah, that you see how quickly it can come together for you when you have already picked out the right kind of image that you would consider using, and just have it all in a pile ready to be chosen. So I do have a bunch of real little florals over here, and I'm not sure I'll use them because it already feels quite crowded to me, but we'll make that decision once we get everything glued down. So I'm going to move these out of the way so I have a place to do my gluing. So at this point you have to think about what image is going to be on the bottom and which ones are going to lay on top. And obviously you want to glue down the ones on the bottom first, and that's what we're going to do. Notice that I tore these corner pieces in such a way that I had two straight cuts for the corner. I try to do that so I don't have to do any trimming. Now, if you are afraid when you go to start gluing things down that you'll forget where you had what, you know, just take a picture of it with your phone or camera, whatever you use, and then you have something to refer back to. I forgot to do that, so I've got to just try and remember what I was doing. You can let me know in the comments section if I screwed up and put something where it didn't go. I won't mind if you chastise me. Placement is very important, I think. But of course I'm doing wabi-sabi, my wabi-sabi style quite a bit, and where placement really doesn't factor into anything. So, you know, to each their own. This I knew. I'm going to glue all of my background pieces, get them down first before I do anything on top. If I've got companion pieces and I put one down, I try to immediately find a place to use the other one somewhere on the opposite side of the board, because companion pieces help create unity, and it's always a good idea to use them if you have them. Okay. I think this one's going down next. Now this is a sticker. I already cut away much of the background so I wouldn't have to do it on camera. But now, how do we, I think it is, yeah. So just got to try harder to separate it from the backing piece. There we go. Now when you're doing a sticker, you got to be careful and get it right where you want first time, because once it's down, you're not going to be able to pull it up again. I think we'll go right there. I might not even need this. I think it's going to cover up too much of my cardstock background and close me off. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. Here, this is a sticker as well. And so this can drop in here. Hope you see that I have sprinkled the pink around, and then my secondary color would be this peach, or kind of a very light custard color. And moving those pieces around help make your overall board look and feel balanced. And this one over here is also a sticker. You can see now this one I didn't cut away the background, at least not real up close, and so it's a lot easier to pull the sticker out from this. But it's helpful to me to cut away as much as I can. That helps me in deciding the perfect placement. It's looking pretty good there. Okay. Everything I have left is a glue-on piece. No more stickers. At the moment anyway. I did move some of my greenery to a different spot, and the reason for that had to do with size. I had more background showing through different places, or like what I originally had here wasn't tall enough, and then these pieces, I needed more, I think, more length down here. And so, you know, you always feel free to adjust your design as you go along, because, you know, the ultimate goal is to have it be pleasing all the way around and to feel balanced, not just from left to right, but top to bottom. Now, the one thing I don't like so far, I don't know if I'll be able to fix it or not, is that my greenery is going all around the perimeter, and that's the only place it is. And so I prefer to have some greenery coming up into the middle. And so when I get all these in their place, then I'll take a look at that and see if there's a way to pull some of that up into the interior so it doesn't just look like a big circle or oval. Okay. Snip that off. Alright, so here's what we have, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I think I've got too big a bare spot right there, but that may give me a place to put some more greenery as a filler. I didn't get this quite straight, and that's bothering me down there. So I'm going to have to put something over that to cover it up, as it just bothers me. I need it to do that, or do this. I have two of these. I don't like that. Okay, I'm going to stand up and get away from it a bit. See how I feel. A good way to test your balance is to blur your eyes so that any cut edges tend to kind of drop out from your vision, and you can kind of get a feeling, does it feel heavier on one side, lighter on the other, or, you know, is it bottom heavy or top heavy? And obviously these are all pasted down, so you probably should do that before you go gluing everything down. But I think I'm pretty happy with this. And I hope it looks good on film. Sometimes what looks good in person doesn't translate very well in a photo, and vice versa. Sometimes I like what I've made in a photo much better than in person. So you just never know. It's kind of strange. I don't know if you've ever run into that. Let me know in the comments if you've experienced that phenomena. I'm putting this up here because I'm really not crazy about that print. I used it just for the color, and so I'm going to cover up a little bit more of it. But same down here, I'm using the greenery down here. And directing the eye where I want it to go. And here, directing the eye inward, and inward, and inward. Okay? I hope you are able to see that and that it makes sense to you. If you find this difficult to achieve right off the bat, just keep trying to do it, because you'll get the hang of it. After you do a few of these, you'll pick up a sixth sense to where you need to make adjustments and all that. It's a little tricky figuring out when you're done. You know, we tend to struggle being able to say to myself, well, that's it, that's as far as I go, or it needs more. And just try and let your intuition guide you in that regard. If you find something just feels a little too much, figure out, just like remove one thing, and you might be really surprised at how it solves your problem, just removing one element. And so I'll pass that on to you. And if you have glued something down and later you decided it just wasn't working at all and you just couldn't live with it, don't feel like you failed. Just glue something else on top. That's what's great about collage, is that you just keep going until you're happy. And it's different when you're painting something. You can ruin for instance, if you're working with watercolor, you can ruin a good painting by messing with it too much. But in collage, it doesn't work that way. You can just keep going and going until you're finally happy. So I'm just going to go over this quickly and make sure it's all burnished down. You don't want any edges popping up and getting ripped off accidentally. So now we will compare how this one feels, if it feels like a good companion to the other one or not. And that'll be fun to do. And see how they look together side by side. Okay, there's one, and there's one. This one is airier, a little airier, a little more white space overall that's left than this one. But I think they would work together very nicely in a journal, because you know, you may have other pages in between, and so it, you know, they don't have to feel exactly the same. You never want anything to look exactly the same. You always want to have variety in there and originality, but you know, you don't have to put them in a journal close together. And if you're using more than one signature in your journal, I would put one in the first signature and the other in the second signature, and that way you're helping your build continuity and unity throughout the whole journal. So yeah, these two I would definitely use in the same journal, and that gives me 4 pages. And if I make more than one copy to use in the journal, I can take a second copy of each one and cut them into smaller pieces for my ephemera that I will stick in pockets and various places to tuck stuff in. So, you know, a Masterboard really gives you a lot of purpose, a lot of options for use, and they're fun to make and really do help you in pulling your journal together in a way that makes sense and have multiple pages that feel good together. And that's, you know, good design comes down to 2 things essentially: color and feeling. They have to feel good together or it doesn't work. I don't care how good your design is. If it doesn't feel good with other things in the vicinity, then it just won't work. So that's the importance of establishing a color palette from the beginning and auditioning those pieces for the end result, instead of just, you know, trying to find them one at a time, and you don't know what you're going to wind up with. And chances are it won't be nearly as pleasing to the eye as it would be if you had a pile of images that you've predetermined would help you in the project. Okay, I added a butterfly here. So I went and made a third one. So I'm just going to quickly show you those. So here was the first one. The second one. And the third one I just made. I hope all that makes sense. I hope you've gotten some good tips out of this and that you find it valuable. And if so, give the video a little push on the like. Leave me a comment, because I love reading comments and I do answer every comment I get. And so I am so appreciative. Thanks for staying with me to the end. I really appreciate that as well. So that's it for this topic. This is Miss Darling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.